We believe most people believe that love is to bear another person's hurt. We learn that compassion involves absorption, that you have to suffer alongside them if you really care. Parents inherit the pain of their kids. Partners inherit the worry of the one whom they love. And friends reflect each other's hurts until no one knows where the pain started. We refer to it as compassion, yet often enough it is silent self-destruction. You begin to confuse emotional contagion with connection. You begin to think that to heal another person is to bleed alongside them. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." The unconscious compulsion here is guilt. The primordial guilt of splitting off from the tribe, of abandoning someone else. But contemporary empathy has distorted that urge into something perilous, a notion that your value is measured by how much suffering you can carry on behalf of others. The reality is cruel and freer than most humans can tolerate. You are not answerable for anyone else's inner life. You may love without bearing. You may empathize without taking on. Neuroscience confirms this in ways that Jung could only guess at. The mirror neuron system of the brain is meant to mimic other individuals' feelings for a short while so we can empathize with them, not to get submerged in them. Empathy is supposed to be a translating mechanism, not a death penalty. When you over-identify with another person's suffering, the amygdala and insula overflow your body with cortisol and emotional memory. You don't simply feel with them. You start becoming them in parts. Gradually, this destroys the line that holds your sense of self together. Jung named it participation mystique, the old psychological merging when self and other blend into one. It's noble feeling, but it's backward. It's a regression to the undifferentiated awareness of the child, who can't differentiate where they stop and the parent starts. That fusion is the hidden reason why so many helpers burn out, why sensitive people retreat from the world, and why compassionate souls often feel perpetually exhausted. The brain, when trapped in empathy loops, cannot distinguish between witnessing pain and enduring it. Emotional resonance becomes emotional contagion. You begin to awaken weighed down by emotions that aren't yours, fretting over what you can't manage, reliving someone else's pain in an attempt to make it right through guilt. The body remembers every tale it hears. Shoulders become knotted with unspoken empathy. Breath catches as though to suck in another's desperation. You lose sight of the fact that peace is not selfish, it's survival. But there is the problem. Society romanticizes sacrifice. Films, religions, and even motivation culture espouse that good persons bear others, that love is endurance. The martyr is the moral ideal. You hear it everywhere. Be there for them, no matter what. A true friend never abandons. But Jung cautioned that too much virtue conceals its shadow. The rescue urge is frequently a masked fear of abandonment. In rescuing others, you hope to gain belonging. You conflate care with control. Psychologically, it is known as codependent empathy, the need to repair others in order to feel secure. Underneath resides an old fear: if they break down, I will. Picture a child observing a parent in distress. The child can't control the parent's pain, but automatically attempts to. They become oversensitive, tracking every change in mood, interpreting emotional distress into duty. Years down the line, the same child becomes an adult who continues to feel responsible if anyone in his/her environment is sad. They draw broken relationships, disorganized friends, or needy colleagues. They act out the same unconscious role, the emotional caretaker. This is not love. This is repetition. It's the mind's desperation to complete a narrative that never was yours to begin with. Jung referred to this complex as possession when an archetypal pattern takes over awareness. You're trying to choose compassion, but the pattern is choosing via you to cure this. You first need to distinguish between compassion and absorption. The new sciences of somatics and neuropsychology reinforce Jung's observation. Boundaries are not walls, they are membranes. A good boundary does not push away emotion, it screens it. When you see someone else's suffering, you can allow it to resonate for a moment and then pass. This takes awareness, not pulling away. The trick is to recognize the difference between empathy and identification. Empathy states, I feel with you. Identification states, I am you. One joins, the other obliterates. So how do you avoid carrying around pain that doesn't belong to you? You start with awareness. Each time you experience emotional weight, stop and ask, whose feeling is this? Your nervous system cannot respond quickly, but quietness reveals ownership. If the feeling disappears when you label it, it was never yours. This simple question engages the prefrontal cortex, soothing the limbic system that reflects others' pain. The brain learns with time that awareness itself is safety. Jung would say this is the beginning of individuation, becoming a complete, independent self. Second, practice emotional containment rather than emotional fusion. Containment is when you provide space for someone else's feelings without allowing them to overwhelm you. Picture your body as a vessel with transparent walls, kindness within, turmoil without. The description is abstract, but cognitive behavioral therapy research indicates that mental imagery can modulate the parasympathetic nervous system. When you visualize a clear boundary, heart rate and cortisol levels decrease. This is biology affirming philosophy. Third, cultivate what Jung referred to as the strong ego, not arrogance, but stability. The ego, in his meaning, is the point of awareness that mediates the inner and outer worlds. In its absence, empathy collapses into absorption. With it, empathy becomes being present. The stronger your sense of self, the safer others feel with you. Others don't need you to drown with them. They need to sense your stability while they discover theirs. The change that ensues is subtle yet fundamental. When you cease to bear their pain, you cease to enable their powerlessness. You give others the respect of their own process. You learn that true love is not rescue, it's respect for a different person's autonomy. The instant you let go of the fantasy of responsibility, you liberate both parties from unconscious servitude. You are no longer the savior, and they are no longer the victim. Relationship becomes partnership instead of courage. This transformation also alters how you feel empathy. Instead of empathy being fatigue, it is now insight. You begin to know feelings as information and not infection. The brain starts encoding others' experiences as information for comprehension, not as danger signals for safety. This is the neurology equivalent of what Jung described as the transcendent function, the union of opposites. The empathetic heart comes together with the discriminating mind, and they generate wisdom. As this convergence goes deeper, you catch yourself doing something amazing. Your empathy works better. With no longer having guilt to carry around, your presence itself is curative. People feel observed, not controlled. They feel understood without feeling suffocated. Since you are no longer reflecting back their meannesses, you then become a mirror for their greatness. Jung said that the best thing we can offer another is the light of our own awareness. That light only shines if it's not filtered through borrowed despair. Let's take a look at how this plays out in everyday life. Your friend calls you in distress. The old pattern would move to soak it up. You'd sit and hear for hours, absorb their grief, lose sleep, and call it love. The new pattern stops. You hear deeply, but ground yourself in breath. You mirror their emotion back in clarity. I hear how much that hurts. Then you ask, what do you need from me right now? Support or solution? By labeling the boundary, you teach them self. The conversation dissolves without emotional residue. You still care. You just didn't sacrifice your peace to prove it. That is conscious empathy. The same is true for family. Parents tend to shoulder the unprocessed pain of their children, assuming that it confirms devotion. But over-identification sends one harmful message. You cannot handle your own life. Trust is true love. When you send your child's pain back to them, you are confirming their ability to heal. Jung stated that the worst tragedy of the parent is desiring to shield the child from the very hurt that would make them grow up. Growing up demands friction. To steal a person's pain is to steal their growth. In romantic love, bearing another's pain frequently disguises itself as intimacy. Two hurting individuals merge, both seeking healing through the other. Initially, it's an elevated experience. Ultimately, it becomes stifling. You begin to feel your moods are not your own. Your energy ebbs and flows with theirs. Emotional symbiosis, love without autonomy. The cure is self-reflection. What aspect of me requires them to suffer so I can feel helpful? It is usually the shadow of the rescuer archetype, unconscious need to be needed. When you reveal that motive, compassion gets pure again. Stemming the tendency to carry other people's pain doesn't equate to coldness. It equates to clarity. Detachment in the Jungian context is not indifference. It is freedom from coercion. You are free to decide when and how you want to enter. You can enter another's feeling with awareness, then exit when the time is appropriate. This aware process of flowing from empathy to separation is emotional maturity. It is the psychological analog to breathing. Inhale connection, exhale release. With time, the practice reroutes the brain's empathy tracks. Studies using functional MRI reveal that long-term meditators who practice compassion with limits engage the prefrontal cortex more than the limbic centers. They experience empathy without pain. Their compassion is intentional and not reactive. This is a reflection of Jung's concept of active imagination, disciplined work with inner images without becoming lost in them. You see emotion but are not engulfed. The wider shift goes beyond individual peace. When people cease to absorb communal pain, society as a whole becomes saner. Most group anger is acted out suffering. People dump what they can't contain. As more minds learn containment, emotional maturity rises. Jung predicted this when he said that the future of humanity rests on the wholeness of the individual psyche. The world gets well one boundary at a time. And then, in the stillness after release, you find something surprising, lightness. The weight that has taken up residence within you for all those years disappears, and with it, your illusory sense of purpose. You start to wonder, who am I when I am not keeping everyone else together? The response comes slowly. You are yourself, free. The psyche, no longer mired in other people's stories, turns its energy inward. Creativity comes back. Curiosity returns. You begin living from sincerity rather than duty. This is what Jung was referring to as individuation, the birth of a whole self, but not lonely. a compassionate but not enmeshed self. You are someone who can walk alongside pain and not crumble under it. The world continues to hurt, but now your witness contains it, not your body's nervous system. You realize that suffering is communal, yet ownership of suffering is singular. The edge is what is sacred. Out of this clarity emerges a new type of empathy, one based on respect rather than rescue. You see that when you release others from carrying your pain, you return their authority to change it. You become a witness rather than a warden. You no longer take away their ability to awaken. Jung stated that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Genuine connection transforms both without annihilating either. The final wisdom is straightforward, but revolutionary. You are not the vessel for the world's hurts. You are the awareness that witnesses them, learns from them, and sends them on into the stream of life. When you release their pain, you receive your calling. You get to serve others in clarity, not exhaustion. In knowing, not shame. The health of your boundaries is the health of your love. And as you embody this truth, the world around you shifts quietly. The people who used to depend on you start to rise up. The conversations grow deeper because they are no longer bargains for emotional power. The relationships turn into mirrors of growth rather than energy drains. The air itself becomes lighter. You learn that compassion and detachment can actually coexist. That presence heals more than sacrifice. And when Jung stated, "When you stop carrying their pain, everything changes," he was not teaching isolation. He was mapping evolution, the stage the psyche leaves fusion behind and enters conscious love. To become there is to know that peace is not indifference, and separation is not egotism. It is the maturity to know that the most potent thing you can give another human being is your wholeness. If this altered your perception, subscribe to Mental Sovereign, because here we don't pursue motivation. We conquer the mind.